So I hope you guys had a chance to look up portals and read about them. They're entryways, they're doorways. And sometimes we open them in ignorance. I know I did. And then there are times we purchase some things that have a gateway in them and we don't realize it. So I had more than one avenue of a portal opened in my home. And I discovered it was furniture. I love vintage furniture. So I had vintage furniture. Some of it had like a gateway because deceased people had attached to it, wouldn't let it go. And that kept an opening in that furniture in my home. Then it was trying to find someone that could explain to me. I wasn't afraid. My family wasn't afraid. I was trying to figure out what am I doing because I could clear the energy and then all of a sudden something different would be back in my home. Now, I spoke to a dear friend who is also my godmother, a dear friend, and she said, wait a minute, something's not right. And she came over and she did an Ifa house cleansing. Lasted about a week. Mr. Tux, go on. He wants my attention. You want my attention, Mr. Tux? Mr. Tux. But about a week. And I had to go back to her and say, no, 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 no. Now there's different energy. So we went to a Misa. And a Misa is where a shaman opens the spirit realm. So you get to fellowship with your ancestors, everyone. I know this is not Christian stuff, but let me tell you what. I was a Christian studying, serious study of sacred text. And these things were happening. And no Christian could help me. They would be like, you just got to trust God. And I'm like, baby, I trust God. I'm trying to find out what's going on in my house. Because I'm not a pushover. So she takes me to a Misa. Now, I had a friend of mine was pastoring a church in Alabama, and I had been there as well. That church kind of had a type of portal of its own. And the first time I went to fill in for her at that church, child, my car was broken into in the parking lot. Just went through. And me being bold, and I looked around the neighborhood, I said, all of these people, no one saw anything. And the people who were the church members, they said, oh, you can't go talk to these people. They're not any good. And da da da. And I went, how can you be in a community as a church and not like the people that you're living beside of? That makes no sense. So I went across talking, and one couple, the gentleman was very agitated, didn't like my presence, said I'm Muslim. I said, well, I'm glad you're Muslim. I said, good for you. I don't come to convert anybody, baby, to anything. I'm just me. And we sat there and we talked, and the only thing I said was, if you know who did this, please give me my driver's license back, my ID. Because, baby, I live in Georgia. And if you knew what people go through in Georgia when they have to go to the DMV, you would say, I'm going to find your driver's license. Yes, I am. And guess what? I got a call from the police station there out of that city. Someone had dropped off my purse and all my ID and things like that, and they mailed it to me. So what I did there was I opened a portal where the church seemed not to be opening anything to anyone but sitting in their own portal. I went and opened a portal. I only went back to that church one time. I know something was there because before I could get out of the city, I started presenting with severe bronchitis. Now, let me dial you back to the Misa that I went to. She said, no, I need you to go. This lady is powerful. She said, I can do some things. She said, but we need the spirit realm open so we know exactly what's going on in your home. And I said, okay. And I know some people say, well, if it wasn't of Jesus, no, this was of God. And when I was there, my ancestors showed up powerfully. Now, one directive they gave me was to never go back to that church in Alabama. I mean, when I say my grandfather showed up and raised, you know what? He said, don't you ever. And they kept saying, do you hear him? He wants you to know, and he needs to know that you will not go back there. I said, I will not go back. But then they pointed out the very wonderful mirror that my grandmother left me that had carvings in wood that goes across the top of it that was done by slaves. I had put that mirror in a hallway, and directly across from it was another mirror. And in my prayer and meditation time, boom, that gateway just began to have an exchange, and it opened up. Another thing to understand is my home at the time, I lived by the Yellow River. And we all knew in that neighborhood that you had underground, little waterways that were underground. That strengthened it. So I would have to stop all that flow of water deep under my house and do various things to close it. So I learned a valuable rule. You never put a mirror on the opposite side of another mirror unless you're being intentional about opening something. Now, the lady's name was Maria, very powerful woman. She told me a lot of things that day, and I sat there and I said, okay, it's just a mirror. And she said, you have to get rid of your antique furniture because they too have attachments to them that are small portals that are opening, and there's an exchange. So every time you clear everything, basically the portal would explode or like breathe, and other things would come out. Now, I don't think all of them were malevolent, maybe a few. But most wanted help, and they would touch me and shake my bed and walk up and down the hallway, and I had to learn how to deal with that as well. So when you see the Pope and other religious leaders opening portals, think about what I had was probably minuscule to what they are opening. One thing I do know, you can control what you put in, but you can't control what comes through that gateway, because a door is a two-way street. And Maria taught me some valuable things. The most important thing and the hardest thing for me to wrestle with was it could not be closed. The closing of that portal meant the removal of me physically from that house. I took the mirrors down. I still have not put up my grandmother's mirror as of yet. I keep it covered because I'm not sure that portal that came from that mirror is still open or not. It is so beautiful. It's massive. The wood piecings are big and they're hand carved and go around the mirror. I'm not sure if I will ever be able to put that up. I just know my daughters are like, who gets the mirror? It's so beautiful. But that's a spiritual check-in I'll do sometime to see if I can put that mirror up or if it still has a portal. Because if it does, because I think it was the activating agent. And I do know entities came out to protect me when there were negative things that came out. Because sometimes there would be a little ruckus. So I figured my ancestor Nat came out and said, wait a minute. I know you're not touching her. That's my cat Tux running around hitting the phone. But portals are very serious. And when I say I look differently at some of the Christians, even at school, there were some of the staunch Pentecostal people, and I asked them about, that's the devil. Who you need to speak in tongues and talk directly to God. I was like, baby, okay. I'm asking how to fix it. Nobody had no way. I had to go to a priest of Santeria to get some answers. And by God, I was going to get some spiritual answers. I was not going to keep tripping up on Christian stupidity that thinks they're in a box that has everything and you don't. No Christian could give me advice, say anything, tell me what to do. But I'll tell you what else them Christians wouldn't do either. They wouldn't come and spend the night at my house. I was so angry. But When I got the help, and I would tell you, I covered that mirror. The other mirror, I think, because it was an antique as well. So I don't know if the antique mirror on the other side belonged to slave owners, and then my mirror was made by slaves. Baby, if they were just having a fight sometimes, I don't know. But I had to clean it up. It was up to me. And then I could not stay in that house. I was the activating agent. So we moved. And I told my husband, we need to put this house on the market. And I'm going to tell you how serious it was because he had gotten laid off at that time. And we did the modification that former President Obama did. They would not. My ancestors would not let them modify, would not. We had to leave that house. And I said, well, that's what we were told to do. He was like, are you not believe? It's not a matter of me believing with you. It's for the well-being of our family. So I covered my grandmother's mirror. We moved out of that house. We've had no issues. I've never heard of the family that moved in after that having any issues because I had activated that portal. And I was told exactly what to do. Get rid of the one mirror. I had to cover the ancestral mirror that I have. And then I had to move out of that house, and I did. So when you're going to a grander scale of opening portals, for example, CERN, if you ever go do research on CERN, they're doing experiments with certain things at the speed of light. So vibrational energy is very, very important. And when you're getting that high, and if you don't know how to control anything, what's coming out? They know what they're putting into it, but what are they getting out of it? Now, another thing that I will say to you, I believe every human being is a literal portal. That's why you go through the portals of life. The portals of being a baby, that portal of being a young child, the portal, things that you can't go back to because once those portals close, you can't return. And I know women are portals as well, portals of life. Life comes through us, literally. Not in the physical act of getting the baby, but it's when soul and spirit start being breathed in and that divine energy is being put in that baby. It is the only place, the womb of a woman is the only place we know the hand of God still works. So I know they argue over when this occurs, when that doesn't occur. But see, with it being your physical body and your portal, this is your portal. You can open it when you want to and you can close it when you want to. That's my personal belief. You don't have to open your portal to whatever you don't want to. You can shut it down. But the portals are so important. That's why if you can, go read up on them. Because I believe what they did at Notre Dame when they reopened that cathedral, and then what the Pope did is very significant to what's going on now. And again, if you remember, a lot of these people are asking for peace. And I told you earlier, until you give truth and marry it with peace, that ain't what you're going to get, baby. This is where the spiritual laws are so important. You get tidbits of them and things like that, and they wrote some sacred texts in ways that you have to really study and look at those languages to get it. Because they have it so fragmented. And I think that was done intentionally so that what they consider regular common folks couldn't grasp the sacred, but you can grasp it. You have to do your work. Because I will tell you, I was floored when I was told, oh no, you have to leave that house. You have been the activating agent of that portal. And I didn't even know I was doing it. So I'm very careful now with my space on how I keep it, the energy clear. I'm mindful of how I do things. Let me tell you what, I don't have one mirror in my bedroom. Did you hear me? Not one. They're in the bathroom where they can be, but they are not in my bedroom, baby. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I do not play that game. I like having my shalom. And the truth is, when you know your worth and your power, how do I want to put this? When you know your worth and your power, you don't always have to go to a card reader. You become the card that needs to be read. They don't have to throw the shells in Ifa or Santeria. You are the shell being thrown. You don't have to do the pendulum. You can catch the wave that's coming through you for the yes and the no. Just saying. So Charlotte Pastor Caldwell wanted to come by and just tell you that. That came to me today. You need to understand the portals. So if you see something, you may have already steadied yourself to be able to handle what you see. See, sometimes we're like, well, I want an angel talk to me. Baby, if they showed up, you probably would kill yourself, or the angel would have to kill you because you acting a fool. You wouldn't know what to do. And usually the best thing to do when sacred shows up in manifested form is to listen. Because they are indeed messengers. They came to tell you something. They didn't want for you to sit down and say, will you ask God if God, well, why are you up there, baby? That's not how it works. So those portals have a way, sometimes when we keep going the wrong direction, yeah, they'll straighten you up. When you're in that portal of life, that's why God had to say to me, the truth is you're in your 60s. You have to be at peace with that so that I go through this portal properly and not do harm to myself because I'm trying to physically still do things like I'm 30 or 40. And I was. I get that energy sometimes and I go. And God is like, okay, now you're flat on your back for a week or two. Are you done? Are you done? Yes, I'm done. All right. That's my little rant on portals. And I'm sure there are people on the social media platforms that know a lot more than I do. But I just know they're nothing to play with. And sometimes even when you're someone like me and you're ignorant of what they are and you stumble across them, it is true, and you've heard me say my favorite quote, there is nothing in the world more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And when it came to portals, I was sincerely ignorant and conscientiously stupid. Did I get that right? So I had to educate myself spiritually. I know what to do to stay aware. I know, for example, going to South Carolina, one of the Vodun priests on here on one of the media sites, I can't remember her name. She talked about a portal in South Carolina. I think they removed it. I think all the reworking of the highways is scuttling some of the portals that highways were purposely going through. We could zip to North Carolina 4 hours max. It takes us over 5 to 6 hours to get there now, because we don't have that portal to skip through and it bumps us over space and time. My husband and I talk about that all the time. Why does it take us so long now to get to North Carolina when we could just zip there? It's not like before. Because they changed the position of the highways, dug everything up. So whoever set some of those portals in place for whatever they were trying to catch and release, they disturbed it and it's no longer there. That's my witness. So you guys let me know what you think about portals, because they're all around us. In fact, you live in a portal. The portal of life, baby. This is Charlotte Pastor Caldwell. My little rant is over.